Hi everybody, this is Czapnik from the Jewish Learning Exchange. I hope you and yours are well. We continue to pray for the situation in Israel, the soldiers in Gaza, and the hostages in Gaza, and those injured and wounded. May the Almighty give them more strength, and may they all come home soon. Had some technical difficulties for tonight, but we're going to try now, and hopefully it'll work. Did you ever see a couple and you wondered how in the world did they get together? How in the world are they staying together? Well, we'll see how that's relevant to us tonight and today. This week's Parshat Va'era. Va'era has the first 7 of the 10 plagues that God struck the Egyptians with. And the simple understanding, of course, is that God was showing him that he's in charge, and they are not, even though they thought they were the masters of the world. But there's a deeper spiritual significance of each of the plagues, and we're going to focus on one plague, the plague of Barad, hail. And hail is a fascinating plague. It was fire and ice together that would come down and smash into Egypt and destroy everything outside in the field. And Pharaoh can't handle it, and he tells Moshe, stop the noise of Hashem and the hail. And the simple understanding of that is that when the hail, as they say in the military, incoming, he couldn't handle it. Unfortunately, we know in Israel that they have to deal with incoming missiles all the time. And Pharaoh asked him to stop that. But this is the Kol HaElokim, it's the sound of God. What bothered him about that so much? And today's current Rebbe, the leader of the Hasidic group Gur in Israel, may he live and be well, had a beautiful insight, and he says, hail is a very unusual thing. As our sages tell us, and Rashi explains, that hail is fire and ice that they had in Egypt. And fire and ice are opposites. And how do they come together? And they came together to do God's will. Usually fire melts ice, or ice, if there's enough of it, can put out the fire. But that's what happened. And that bothered Pharaoh. Why? Because he says nature is subjugating itself to the will of God. That bothered him a lot. And where do we see something like this today? There's a very beautiful prayer in your handy arts folks on page 15 on the bottom. It's the prayer of Asha Yatzar. It's the prayer we say after we use the facilities. When we go to the bathroom, we make a prayer. There's a great book that talks about a Orthodox man who was a teacher in an inner city school in Buffalo. And they couldn't believe they saw him making a blessing after using the bathroom. And they say, Mr. Raz, what are you doing? Blessings after the bathroom too? He was unashamed in his Judaism and made blessings before his food. And now they're seeing this. And he took them to a dialysis unit so that they could see that going to the bathroom is not something simple. And the prayer is a very beautiful prayer. And we say, blessed are you, Hashem, O God, King of the universe, who fashioned man with wisdom and created within him many openings and many cavities. It's obvious and known before your throne of glory that if but one of them were to be ruptured, but one of them were to be blocked, it would be impossible to survive and to stand before you. Blessed are you, Hashem, who heals all flesh and acts wondrously. So the commentators ask, what acts wondrously? So the obvious one is because our body is an amazing sign of God's design and how it functions so beautifully. We could spend a long time talking about that. But the Code of Jewish Law says acts wondrously is not only talking about the body functioning, but the biggest wonder of all, the most unusual match in history. That's the match between the body and the soul. That's what's really unusual. Body and soul are opposites. The body wants my physical needs. I want it now. The soul is looking for a higher connection and to serve God. So how do these two mesh together? It's like, as the Rebbe says, it's like the fire and ice in the hail of this week's portion, in the 7th plague. It's coming together to serve God. And that's what the soul and the body are meant to do. Someone once wrote that it's like a horse and a rider, the horse being the body and the rider being the soul that's in control of it. Who's in charge? Is the horse in charge? Then it runs amok. If the body's in charge, then it can control it and actually even take care of the body. And that's the wonders of God, that we have this duality within ourselves of body and soul. And the goal is to take both together and use it to serve God. Because without our body, we can't give charity. We can't help somebody cross the street. We can't use our eyes and ears and mouth to study Torah or to pray. We need both. And that's the great wonder. And that is why Pharaoh was upset about the noise of the hail, because the noise was saying the physical can subjugate itself to the spiritual, to God, to do God's will. And he couldn't handle that. May we look at ourselves and our differences and say, let's get over our differences for the sake of heaven. Let's work on the greatest, oddest couple in the world, the body and the soul in ourselves, and say, let's get together to serve God. And if we do that, then the contradiction doesn't exist anymore. Then it becomes a harmony of our physical and spiritual selves in the service of the Almighty. Have a wonderful Shabbos. All the best.